So I have a very difficult task, which is to prepare to present to you ideas on AI before a very distinguished group of speakers who are definitely smarter than I am. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the conference as well. I'm going to present some information quite quickly. The first thing you need to know about me is that I am Irish. I have no idea if you know where Ireland is, but it's another small island and beside another big place, so it's in Europe. And Ireland is famous because it is the place where the first farmers of Europe, Western Europe should I say, started to farm. They did this about 6,000 years ago. And in this photograph, which was taken while I was flying out of Dublin, the capital of Ireland, for the first time we flew over a valley, and below in the valley you can see Neolithic tombs. These are tombs which were built 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. One of the tombs lets light into the tomb only for one day of the year. So 6,000 years ago, people designed a place, a religious place, where with a window where the light comes in one day of the year. This can only be done if you have farmers. With farmers, we produce food. With food that allows people to create civilizations, to create cities, to have meetings like this. So without food, we cannot invent things, we cannot have scientists, we cannot have salespeople, we cannot have marketing, we cannot have meetings, because we're all too busy hunting and gathering to feed ourselves. And with those civilizations, which have only existed for about 10,000 years, you can say that farming is very, very innovative. But it's not true. This is a table created by McKinsey, which says that farming is the worst industry in terms of innovation. Oh, sorry, not the worst, excuse me, mistake. It's the joint worst industry along with hunting. So hunting and agriculture have been the least digitized according to McKinsey. So despite all of the innovation that we believe we're doing, we actually are quite far behind. We have 570 million farms. The theme of this meeting is sustainability. Are we sustainable with 570 million farms? Because we know we must produce 70% more food, and specifically we must produce 70% more protein. That means milk, that means eggs, that means meat, and that increase seems impossible to imagine. Can we do it? Well, it means that we need to improve by 70% over a period of about 30 years. If those of you, I won't ask today, ever studied mathematics in high school, you know that to get to 70% over 30 years, we actually need to improve productivity by 1.8%. That's not too bad. In fact, already we have been improving productivity of our cows, of our wheat, of our corn, of our meat production by more than 1.8% over the last 30 years. So what we need to do is continue to get those increases, not just through genetics, but through food waste, through precision agriculture. Technology is coming to farming. What does it mean for farms? How does it change production? How does it change the nature of work? Are we going to be doing the work? Now, many of you will say, as I hear not just in Taiwan, but also in other countries where I speak, they say, but Aidan, farming doesn't need to change. My father did it this way, my grandfather did it this way, my mom did it this way, my grandmother did it this way, we don't need to change. And I ask you, are you the same as the taxis before we saw the introduction of Uber or Didi? Is this the same as we expected that we'd be renting rooms from other people through Airbnb? Did we imagine that the largest inventories of the world would be with people like Alibaba? Did we imagine we'd be buying content from Facebook who don't even create it? That the biggest banks in the world don't have any real estate, they have no buildings? Vendors, communication through things like WhatsApp, WeChat, Line, All of these could never have been imagined by those businesses. Even the idea that the leading movies winning Oscars were being invented by Netflix is not something that Hollywood imagined. So are we, in terms of farming and agriculture, in the same place? Are we imagining this is going to stay the same? In the meantime, out there are people, often young people, who will disrupt and completely transform the nature of our business. Now this also is a book I found. This is a Taiwan farmer, maybe not Taiwan, maybe American, maybe Irish, maybe Brazilian. And I said to him, how can you still be writing? How can you still be writing? You should be using an iPad. And the farmer said to me, Aidan, my iPad, the screen never breaks. It doesn't need electricity. And the Russians cannot hack into my iPad. I said, this is all true, but you should not be using this as your iPad. This is not digital. The reality is that the gaps we have in agriculture are enormous, enormous. We don't know the weight of our animals in real time. Oh, excuse me, too far. We don't know the feed consumption of our animals in real time. Even if we know it for a group of animals, a group of pigs, a group of chickens, we don't know it for each individual animal. We don't know their comfort level, the stress level, the health level, livability, what's going to impact on meat. We don't know about the skin, the feathers. We don't know about water quality, environmental temperatures, safety, salmonella, antibiotic residues, traceability. None of this information is available. So how can we be precise in how we feed the animals, how we feed our plants, how we irrigate our land? How can we be precise in terms of what we do in farming when we don't know this information? And when we do know it, we know it 1 week later, 1 month later, eventually 1 year later. We're analyzing afterwards, not during real time. I normally play a video. In this, 2 robots discuss the future of labor, the future of work, and they say, we don't need people, we don't need humans, we will do the work for you. And the robot then finishes by saying, she says, don't worry about it, robots will take your jobs, but jobs are boring anyway. So I imagine in 5 years' time I will be in Taiwan speaking to a room of robots, or maybe they will replace me, so the robot will be speaking to the robots. This is a graph, a creation a schematic from University of Illinois, explaining how in crops, how you can use information in real time, take it from the Chicago Mercantile, where we trade grains, from the grocery stores, from market information, from the information we get from the field, to make decisions about what seeds to use, what fertilizer to use, how to irrigate, what genetic choices we make, and what crop protection. And this has to be the future of what we do. We should be able to be very precise using drones and satellites and robotics, but use information from other sources to make these real-time decisions. But it's getting more complicated. The more we know about farming, the more we're realizing we're not just feeding the plant, we're not just feeding the animal, we're not just feeding the human, we're often feeding the microbiome. A tablespoon of soil contains 8 billion microorganisms. Maybe the soil is more important than the plant genetics in terms of performance and disease that we see. We're understanding more and more about gene expression, not just DNA, but more importantly perhaps RNA. And we're also discovering the link between nutrition, of how we feed our plants, how we feed our animals, and the ways in which those genes are expressed, otherwise known as nutrigenomics. So the more we know, the more we realize how little we know about farming and about the way we do things. We're now capable of editing those genes naturally using a mechanism called CRISPR, which is cheaper, faster than any of the GMO mechanisms we used before. And we're starting to discover digital technologies. I'm going to use an analogy of what happened in another business to say what might happen in farming. Because the hospitals that I go to now contain huge amounts of digital technology. They contain robots, they've got artificial intelligence, the blockchain, machine vision, sensors, and big data. What's clear to me is, however, in those hospitals, we do not have less doctors. We do not have less nurses. We don't have less healthcare people. We just have them doing different jobs. And by different jobs, I'm going to give you examples of different technologies which are being used today. The first one is robots. In terms of robots, robots can assist with surgeries. In fact, they are more accurate at doing certain surgeries than humans are. They help with logistics. If you go to hospitals today, you often see robots carrying samples up and down from the patient directly to the laboratory. Why don't we use a human? This seems a simple job. Why do we need a robot? Because the human gets distracted. The human decides they want a coffee, a cigarette, or they have to go to another room, and they forget to bring the sample. The robot only has one job, and it keeps it the right temperature. Workplace safety, you can use robots for cleaning, as we discovered during COVID. What about in farming? Today, about 1/3 of the cows of the Netherlands are robotically milked. The number in the United States is much lower. The leaders, I'm using De Laval, there are other leaders, for example, Lely is another big company in this area. But robotic milking of cows means the cow decides when she wants to get milked, not the human. It's a hugely significant thing. We also see robots being used in poultry houses to move birds around, to disinfect, to vaccinate. We see robots being used in the field to kill weeds. In case you're wondering, I don't like this idea, but it seems smart, but so far it's quite expensive and quite difficult to do. And this is from Beijing, a company in China, showing Gok, a very large robot which autonomously can push feed up for cows or cattle, really much larger than the ones that we're seeing in Europe. You can use soft robots. This is a video I took from Atlanta, the poultry show. The soft robot uses compressed air to create something which can be very delicate or very hard. So you put it on the fingers of the metal robot, and it can pick up milk, meat, and can pass them on. In most countries of the world, people do not want to work in a processing plant. Maybe this is different in Taiwan, but in the United States we rely upon people who come from South America. In Ireland we rely upon people who come from Eastern Europe. I was in Thailand recently. They're looking to people who come from Laos. It's always immigrants who do the work. And in that respect, increasingly, particularly in Europe, robots are now being used to process meat, and no plant is being built where the robot is not a big part of what happens next. IoT devices, these are connected devices, Fitbits, etc., exploding in hospitals because it allows us to track where patients and doctors are. It allows us to keep track of the health of the patient. It allows us to see where the equipment is, which can be very expensive to get lost. But in the world of agriculture, we're using sensors now to detect in real time the uptake of moisture by the roots of the plant. So we can see what the plant is doing with the irrigation that we provide. We can use it to track our cows as they move around. This is a very common way, and globally it's becoming a large percentage of the dairy cows use these sensors. We even have a massive increase in the use of sensors inside of the cow. So in the stomach of the cow, this is from Austria. This is being used in about 1 million cows globally. And this is a company from Taiwan. This company is called iChase. They are using, firstly, camera sensors to detect the presence of wild birds. And then they are bombarding those birds with lasers to chase them away. So the goal here is to avoid, to reduce the risk of avian influenza. A very smart idea from Taiwan. This is a company from MIT called Labby. They're detecting milk changes in milk in real time through a sensor that allows you to see the fat, the protein, and the milk components in somatic cells, in real time, which is tremendously important because we milk cows 3 times a day, so it gives us great information. Nutrition, supply chain, health. 3D printers in hospitals. Last time I went to replace a tooth, they said, would you like us to print it with a 3D printer? We imagine that 3D printers will allow us also to print maybe a heart. Maybe some body parts will be increasingly replaced by 3D printed tissues. In terms of animal production and indeed agriculture in general, finding parts for equipment is very time consuming, takes a long time for it to arrive from the manufacturer. So 3D printing, in this case the feeder, is very interesting, particularly in farms that are more remote, for example in Africa. In Israel, they're 3D printing meat. Again, I haven't eaten the meat, I don't know if it's good, but of course it looks like chicken to me. Augmented reality is that just engaging with the idea, the human eye can only see certain spectra of light. So if we're capable of using basically like a Google goggles, glasses that can enhance our vision, perhaps we can see in the field things that we could not see with the human eye. We could identify food pathogens. We could imagine the level of disease in irrigation. We're giving the human the capability of seeing information they would not know otherwise. When I was in Shanghai recently, I noticed that Hema are doing this in a different way. Hema, of course, is a grocery store owned by Alibaba. And in this case, when you scan the QR code on the food, you see where the food came from, you see how the food was, what the farm looks like, you can see videos of the farm and the farmer. You can also see what's happening with respect to how the food is processed. So the full traceability, transparency is being provided to the grocery store consumer, in this case on their fish, but it was also available on all of the products in the grocery store. Virtual reality clearly is the ability to show entirely virtually the process. It can be used to train people in the food business. It's being used in hospitals to train people. In the case of McDonald's in the United Kingdom, they're using it to show again consumers where food comes from. It is creating, however, extraordinary amounts of data. We always talk about how farming is responsible for increasing the temperature of the world, but nobody talks about what's happening in terms of data. Data storage, the creation of all this data is creating a massive global carbon footprint. What are we going to do with all this data? I'm not sure. Many times we say if we create data on the farm, we will become rich because of the data from the farm, and it's like the new oil. Well, even when we have lots of oil, we are not necessarily rich. So having data is also the quality of the data and how that data is being curated or being managed. So AI. Does everybody know this picture? Have you seen this picture before? Anybody who saw this picture, please put up their hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this picture? Okay, this person, I don't know if you can say this in Mandarin, in Chinese, but this picture is a man saying to himself, shit. Because he is playing Go, and he is playing Go against a computer, and the computer produces something which was called as Move 37. And Move 37 had never been seen before. The immediate presumption was when the computer made Move 37, the computer had made a mistake. But the computer had not made a mistake. The computer, the AI, had created a move we had never seen from a human before. And in reality, we see how AI is changing everything. It's becoming creative. It's becoming capable of not just replicating what we do as humans, but going beyond what we do. And this is the CEO of Google saying it's the most important technology humanity has ever worked on. It has limitations. Seth Godin says it's neither artificial nor intelligent, because today it's relying upon what exists in the internet, what data we make available to it. If the data is no good, the decision made by AI will be no good. So today for me AI is a little imprecise. It can fool humans. I don't believe AI is today self-aware. It's highly prone to mistakes, what they call hallucinations. But still the power of AI is absolutely unbelievable. Here's how we're using AI in dairy cows. You put a camera into the barn, or many cameras, and in this case they're watching 10,000 cows on this farm, taking a picture of every cow every minute of the day, digitizing that to say how much time are the cows spending eating, drinking, standing, lying down. If the cows lie down for 1 hour more per day, we get 3.5 litres extra milk, and we get a hugely different carbon footprint. Sorry, to explain, a human cannot interpret this information. You can only do this with AI. Same thing, 30,000 chickens in a barn. This is a system called Purdue. It's out of Malaysia, again another MIT professor. In this case, he's watching every chicken, he's measuring the weight of the chickens, he's watching the behavior, the health, how many have died. This information, no human can watch pictures of 30,000 chickens and make those decisions. This is where you work with an agentic AI advisor. It was invented by Farm Business Network. Surprisingly, the agentic AI norm, the answer is always, you should talk to Farm Business Network. This is always the answer. They created the agentic AI, but still very interesting. I am not smart enough to tell you about the future of AI. Luckily, there are many smart people after me, but what I did do was I created a panel of 40 experts on AI. 20 of them were from agriculture, 20 of them were from AI. The AI people were interested in food and agri, and the 20 people from agri were interested in AI. So they're all interested in the same subject. And I asked them 5 questions. And I said, how will AI transform the agri-food sector? This is all on my LinkedIn, by the way, free of charge. Today it's in Spanish and English, so not yet in Mandarin, but I'm sure we can translate it. So they're saying we need to move from instinct, gut feeling, how we do agriculture today, to prediction. We need to make decisions proactively rather than reactively. We need to move from silos to systems. We need to move from winners to laggards. What was interesting to me is when you took the 40 experts and you contrasted the AI people versus the farming people, the AI people are thinking of huge changes in the food system. The farming people are thinking of incremental changes. Farming people want 3% cheaper food, 5% better fertilizer, 4% more productivity of meat, whereas the AI people are thinking of a totally different system of producing food. Which jobs will be most affected? Again, it was interesting to see they're talking about both routine manual jobs and digital jobs, looking for AI-savvy agronomists, supply chain strategists. But in terms of the farming people, they saw it being very much the lower jobs being affected. The AI people saw it as being changing the jobs of the owners, the CEOs, the people at the top of the business. So really interesting to see the contrast again of disruptive thinking versus incremental thinking. What should CEOs be doing? Get your data cleaned up, be ready to use ChatGPT, LLMs, build internal fluency in terms of AI within your business, and think about ethics. This is particularly the AI people who are saying, be very careful with how this information is going to be used. And then we got into other concerns, the hype versus the reality, the inequality that the biggest players, the biggest farmers, the biggest feed companies, the biggest agri companies are going to use this information versus the small farmers, the small producers who will have more difficulty in using it. And what happens if the system is hacked, over-dependence upon AI? What should executives do? Use AI early and often, audit your data, create pilots, invest in talent, establish ethical frameworks. So the conclusions really were, AI will not replace humans, but the humans that don't know how to use AI, that do know how to use AI, will replace humans that don't know how to use AI. If you wait for the perfect roadmap, it's going to be too late. Culture is critical, and you need to treat it like electricity, the internet. It's essential. Now, we did one more thing. We created a virtual panel, Agentic AI. So we actually created a virtual farmer that had 20,000 cows, a virtual farmer who had 20,000 hectares of crops. We created a food company, a consumer, a regulator, put them all around the table and had a discussion, and in that discussion, the ChatGPT created from the virtual panel of people that don't exist 35,000 words. Then it created a 2,000 word summary, and unfortunately I have to tell you, Agentic AI's discussion was better than my 40 experts, my 40 human experts. My human experts from Harvard and MIT and from very large companies globally, they did not have all of the details that the ChatGPT created. So if I want you to remember several things, I want you to remember DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E. Fix your data. Do not assume more data is the right thing, it's the quality of data that's important. Run pilots that have a purpose. Do not just use consultants. I'm not saying don't use consultants, but don't rely upon consultants. You have to create your own internal competencies. The boss, the CEO, the VIP has to understand AI. If they don't understand AI, you have a problem. And don't wait later. Do it now. Just do it now, like Nike says, just do it. Take homes, if you have not downloaded, I don't care which one it is, ChatGPT or otherwise, there's many, many options. Do it immediately. Ideally, spend $20 a month. It's not a lot of money. The quality of what you get for $20 is amazing. What you get for $200 is even better, but that's a decision. And learn how to develop proper prompts. And jobs of the future are not going to be about the university you went to. They're not going to be about who your mother and father, your mommy and your daddy were. They're not going to be about your IQ. They're going to be about who can use the power of LLMs, who can use the power of AI in their jobs. I'm sorry, let me take 10 seconds. This is a video I created about what I think AI would do if it was farming in the future. So this is the AI vision of farming.
AI at unprecedented speeds, across all industries, geographies, and everyday life as it becomes ever more artificial and intelligent. Having already disrupted whole industries, agriculture is also being transformed. The bigger question is now, if AI were in charge, what would agriculture look like? How would it transform? What would it disrupt? Would it challenge preconceptions? Would the farm go up, be vertical? Would the farm be circular? On soil, over water, or over air? Multi-cropping, instead of monocropping? Could AI eliminate the risks of weather and markets, attracting new investors to farming? Will AI fully automate decision-making in real time informed by actionable insights? What impact will AI have on end-to-end system profitability? Human ingenuity evolved creating machines to replicate what they saw in nature, or in human capabilities, from flying machines to robots. By 1956, computers leapt beyond automation to become what was coined artificial intelligence. Today AI is one of the most searched terms on Google. AI is already helping farms do it better, faster, and more accurately. AI uses data, comprehensive real-time information from the barn and supply chain, empowering grain stores and feed mills to automate production, improve efficiencies and quality, autonomously making decisions from real-time information that humans cannot see or comprehend, faster, more accurately, without bias, ensuring better agronomists, veterinarians, nutritionists, and farmers. But in the end, that's just taking what we have and making it better. Imagine AI running and even designing farms, precision husbandry, harvesting, and harmonious supply chains. Trees, plants, and livestock replicating systems of the past, but informed by AI. Interconnected complexity managed by AI, sensors, drones, and robots. transforming food production, consistency and security while better utilizing the finite resources of the planet. What do you think? A future of not just AI making current farming better. A total reset. An AI revolution.
That video is available on YouTube
that?
with subtitles, so you can download it easily. Okay, what does a change in farming? Got it. Agronomist, nutritionist, veterinarian, farm worker, changes everybody. Is the future growing food on Mars? Elon Musk thinks it is. Maybe we should send him to Mars? I'm not sure. Maybe it is. The fact is the survivors in farming will be those who are quickest to change, the fastest to adopt technologies. I've written this in a book called The Future of Agriculture. It's a free book. Actually, the book is available in Mandarin Chinese as well. You can download it here free of charge. So it's in Mandarin, in English, in Spanish, and Portuguese. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. Grace, thank you very much for today's invite, and look forward to the panel later. Thank you very much. See you soon.